A trip to Mars. Scientists have concluded certain places in Mars, and I think this is one, used to be a lake billions of years ago. They did it because a rover dropped out of the sky. It's got nuclear power, all sorts of geological devices for testing things. It's got a drill so it can take samples from down below, and it can do limited testing of the molecules present. The idea is eventually get to the top there, but there are a few problems. The wheels are starting to wear out, and there are no replacement wheels on Mars. Well, maybe there will be later, I'll get to that. And apparently the computer keeps failing and they have to restart it and everything, so, or maybe they just are like my computer at home, I don't know. This rover is going to land, and it's going to be much more sophisticated at taking samples and identifying the specific biological molecule present. Whether it's going to find a proof that there's definite evidence of life, who knows, but that's supposed to come. So I left out the whole part on why send people to Mars, but I'll get a little bit to it later. But I really think there's an instinct to boldly go. So, how to get to Mars. I looked for a wagon train going away, and the amazing persistence of people to just leave their home and go to an unknown place or with little knowledge, it takes an awful lot of boldly go-ness. My brother and I went to Cape Kennedy and got a tour, and we went into this building and saw a 10-minute video, and they said, go through the door. And when we went through the door, we saw this. And my brother is pointing at what I understand is a functional Saturn V rocket. Congress cut off funding, and but in theory, if you tested all the electronics and then filled it up with the appropriate fuels, it could fly. Now, the reality is that all the knowledge of how this rocket works is mostly gone, and obviously the people have retired, etc. So this thing isn't going to fly. It might be easier to build a new rocket. This rocket is still the largest, most powerful rocket ever built by humans. I have this from the Apollo mission. So it was launched on July 16th, 50 years ago. Took 3.2 days to get into orbit. I'm not quite sure why, but it took another day to get the orbits lined up for the actual landing. It took 1/10 of a day or 2 hours for the rover or the lunar module to land, and a little bit longer to walk. And by 8 days, they got back home again. Some missions took 12 days later on, but that gives an idea of how long the duration is. Now, this is more for the group that I talked to, but if this is the path of the Earth around the sun, and basically January, February, March, and when the Earth gets to where it is the same place, it's January again, and our calendar keeps going. If you have comet orbits, and actually most orbits are less circular and more elliptical, and it slows down up here, speeds up going into the gravity well, slows down, and most planet orbits are close to round, but Mars is the most off-round. Now, I've included the months on Mars, but I've started it here, and I'll explain why later. But Mars, in a whole year, Mars gets a little more than halfway around the sun, and then it takes until mid-November of the second year. So Mars orbits in 22.5 months, or 1.88 Earth years, and astronomers have known that for 3,000 years. We have oppositions, and given that I started in January, this would be somewhere in April. And that's when Earth passes inside, because we move 30 kilometers a second and Mars is something like 24. So we're passing on the inside. Mars is brightest, and it's also closest. Now, in 1925, Walter Hohmann, not sure how I pronounce his name, figured that the way to get from one planet to another would be to launch from a spot on one planet in that elliptical path I showed before, and time it to reach the other planet on the other side of the solar system. And he was able to prove that that was the trip that took the least energy. And it turns out Earth moves about 30 kilometers a second, and if you add another 3 kilometers a second, you'll get there. Now, this is the core of the problem getting to Mars. If we use the least energy process, we've got to launch when Mars is 44 degrees ahead of us, and we get there in mid-September or 8.5 months trip. But that's not the only problem. Let's say you get to Mars, you go down to Mars, plant a flag, pick up some rocks, and then head back home again. Wait a minute. At that moment, Earth is here, scooting away at 30 kilometers a second. So for the astronauts to catch up to Earth, they would have to accelerate not by 3 kilometers a second, but by 30, 40, 50, just to catch up to Earth. So what you have to do is wait for the alignment to work out again where Mars is ahead of Earth, and then you launch from Mars and you get back to Earth. And that wait is 15 months. So using the least energy for a trip, it's 8.5 to get there, 15 to wait, 8.5 back, or almost 3 years for a trip to Mars. How do you survive the long trip? Well, first of all, you need space, and they found a way to make a platform that can fold up in a tiny space. You add air, it fills out, and I understand there's a component of the space station like that. What about supplies? Like the Apollo astronauts were 8 to 12 days. We're talking about 25 times for a one-way trip, 100 times for their wait and then come back again. And in the service module for the space, for the Apollo mission, you had tanks of rocket fuel to get down into Mars orbit or Earth, the moon orbit and back up again. There are supplies of oxygen, hydrogen. They made electricity from that. The water was drunk by the astronauts and they just dumped it outside. I understand the food was stored within the actual capsule. But that was only 8 or 12 days worth of supplies. We're talking about many times more. So you recycle. So the Americans have installed a device where you put all your fluid, shall we say, left over, and it's recycled and purified, and these people are drinking, shall we say, recycled liquids. Now, apparently the Russians don't have one of those, so there must be a real battle to be the Russian that's lucky enough to carry a yellow gasoline tank of liquid to the American side. Anyway, even with that, they still need to replace about 20% of their water, so their continual deliveries of water. So this recycling isn't perfect. Oxygen. Apollo had tanks, or you can take water that uses less volume, pass electricity through it from solar or nuclear, and you get hydrogen and oxygen. Carbon dioxide, problem in submarines and space capsules. If you pass it through lithium hydroxide, chemically like lye, you can get rid of it. There are other techniques that are being invented to fight against climate change, but there's one way to change carbon dioxide back into oxygen, which is plants. Now, I had a whole section on plants that I was going to include here, and I've moved it to the end, but I have a big discussion about plants. Another problem is bone and muscle loss from being in space from all that. Was it thirst, Charlene, that Robert, was that the astronaut that was at the show? Anyway, a Canadian astronaut was at a presentation on Mars, and he said, what? Okay, he said that when they landed, the commander said, well, you can get up now, and he tried to get up, and he physically couldn't move. And he just had to wait 20 minutes for the helicopter crews to arrive, and they got carried out. Now, who's going to help them when they arrive on Mars? You know, it just isn't going to happen. Now, this is after still doing an hour or two of exercise a day. And if people think you can send astronauts in a tiny Apollo-sized capsule or a little bigger, where's the space for this sort of exercise equipment that is absolutely needed? Radiation. I'd used the words solar flare, and I changed it to coronal mass ejection, but I didn't change all. Every now and then, part of the sun squirts out some matter with sunspots, etc., and it takes a day or two for them to reach Earth. So if you're in a spacecraft like this, one thing you can do is turn around. That lets you get protection. Interesting thing about 1972. The second last mission was in April, Apollo 16. The last mission was in December. And in between, there was a solar flare large enough to detonate mines off Vietnam. And what would have happened to astronauts in a space capsule or maybe a few kilometers away from the lunar module, and they got word that this was coming and they have to dash back? Like, space is a dangerous place. But even worse is cosmic rays, because they come from all directions. And I got this data, but I got larger data for the Mars expedition. I think it was 900 that they did in the presentation that I went to. So we're talking about huge amounts of radiation, and I'm not sure how they can be protected. The Earth is protected from two things. Our magnetic field deflects particles around us. And also, did anybody ever live in a house where one of these pumps was used for actual pumping water rather than an antique decoration? Is anybody here? I can't see anybody's face. In the group that I talked to in Bolton, there were a number. How a pump works, it's not that you're sucking the water up, but the air pressure is pushing down, and when you pull up on this, you're reducing the pressure there, and it's the air pressure that can lift it somewhere around 25 feet. The theoretical maximum is 33, and actually the protection of our atmosphere is equivalent to 33 feet of water. Now, the problem is, if you want to shield a spacecraft, you need the same mass of shielding for the same protection. You can use lead, which is more dense, but you still need the same mass, even though it's going to be thinner than the 33 feet. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to get around this problem. Now, when you're stuck in a small group for a long time, personality conflicts evolve. And how do you maintain morale? And one of the speakers in this session we went to was talking about ways you can pick teams to interact. And I've read the critical person on a team is not the commander or the doctor, but the person with that wonderful sense of humor that when things go tense, you can just make a joke or do something goofy. I heard someone that went to Antarctica for overwintering. They did all sorts of goofy things, and that's a way to survive. Maybe you can hibernate. And it turns out you can already do that for medical reasons. You get a little bit cooler, half of the food need, 1/40th the volume, but you have to trust somebody to wake you up, especially if they have a first name of Hal. Okay, I talked about the route to Mars with the least energy, where it takes 3 kilometers a second. Now, I just worked through the months, and this is like a back of a piece of paper calculation. It turns out you could maybe leave in somewhere near the end of February, get there by mid-March, and I just estimated the distance. And then you might spend a month planting your flags and picking up your rocks, and then another month and a bit going back. And what you'd have to do is need over 25 kilometers a second more speed. But not only that, because you're going so fast, you would coast right past Mars unless you crash into it, which isn't a good way for astronauts to survive. So you need a whole bunch of fuel, not just to get started, but also to slow down. And then a repeat to speed up here and then to slow down there. And the amount of extra energy is huge. So maybe there are ways to come up with more efficient rockets. So you might have a nuclear rocket. And there could be something like this, where you have a reactor, some fluid gets pushed into it, it gets squeezed out at high speed. Now, pretend, can you get me? Pretend I'm on a skating rink that's perfectly frictionless. I could get moved towards the boards by throwing either this, which might not make me popular, or this. So if I throw this, that's going to force me back a little bit, and if it's frictionless, eventually I'll get to the boards of the skating rink. The only problem is, if you're in a rocket, once you fire something out in space, you no longer have that to throw out in space anymore. So even if you've got a super efficient energy engine, you still need your working fluid that goes out. Now, keep it on zoom. This is landing on Mars now. So this is a painting of the Apollo spacecraft. And I had always thought that this is simulating the spacecraft. I always thought it just went in flat. But apparently it goes in at a slight angle to give it a little bit of a lift, to have it go through more atmosphere, to take enough energy away from the spacecraft that then you can pop a small parachute and a big parachute and eventually land. This is from a video of Mars, and their atmosphere is 1% of ours. So for the same mass, you need a bigger heat shield, and eventually you're going to slow down enough that you can pop a parachute. And I had trouble getting this from the video, that's why it's not clear. Then you drop the heat shield, and eventually you have this where you have a rocket. And this is how the Curiosity rover landed. And this could have radar that focuses down, and it can work very accurately where it lands because it can identify features. Then it drops the rover. And that's what I meant when I said the rover fell out of the sky. Well, the Curiosity landed rover is 800 kilograms. I made this up and just pulled the astronauts might need 8,000. Well, the lunar module was 15,000 kilograms. Some of that was spent in fuel landing, but that gives a sense of the mass of this thing, and air braking becomes less effective for larger objects, so you need to carry more fuel with you to be able to land. Living in Mars. I personally found all the paintings I saw of landing on the moon were totally different from what it really was. Now, this painting that somebody made, it looks like they're leftover capsules, and see the burn from going through the atmosphere. Well, the atmosphere isn't very thick on Mars, so I don't know if that would be true. People are living just in the capsules, and radiation, half of the radiation is blocked by Mars, but there's still lots of radiation, and I wonder if they'd be inside. Notice they have, I think these are solar panels. Well, solar panels are great, but sometimes Mars has a 3-month dust storm, like just when I wanted to observe it at opposition. So if you're counting on solar panels for energy for your farming and everything, it's not reliable. So it could be that they'll have to live underground. And again, there's another solar power thing, and same comment. So here's my discussion on farming. The term biosphere is defined as the sphere that life lives on Earth, except there's life surprisingly deep into the Earth and surprisingly high up, so it's less a sphere than people might think. And I imagine most of you have heard of biosphere too. This is in southern Arizona, and some wealthy guy who cared about the environment, etc., was persuaded to sink $100 million into this. And 8 people lived in this for 2 years, and they ate the food growing in it, but it was a very restricted diet, but they lost a lot of weight, but they were okay for health. The plants removed carbon dioxide and made oxygen, but they found the total volume of oxygen in O2 as well as CO2 went down over time. And it turns out there was a reaction with concrete, and what they had to do is add more oxygen instead of lasting the 2 years. And apparently they broke into 2 factions that were brutal, and they all kept up their professionalism, but it was brutal in there. Incidentally, the guy got tired of paying the money, so he fired the board and brought in a new board, and this was run by Steve Bannon of Donald Trump's friend for a while. So, all right. So how big is this thing that fed 8 people for 2 years and might have been able to keep going? Well, that's 50 meters, but I don't know about you, but it's hard to relate feet and meters to a size. That's pretty big. Well, this is the Science Center to the same scale. That's Don Mills Road. That's where our cars are parked. And we walked in through there, and we're in this pod here. Now, how many of these areas would be under glass here? 1, 2, 3, maybe 4? That's a big area that has to be made for farming. Wait a minute. Let's think of putting plants in a spacecraft. Well, this is the service module, the command module, and the lunar module that were sent to the nearby moon by the largest rocket ever made. What a comparison of size. Except that is the actual scale size of that. Now, can you imagine finding space on that to balance, have the same, whatever you call it, in the biosphere through? Now, maybe with biotechnology, hydroponics, whatever, it might be more efficient, but you're still talking about a huge volume, and is it going to work? Matt Damon, in his movie, he grew potatoes on this, and they forgot a couple of things. First of all, there are perchlorates on the soil. It would be a toxic waste site if it were on Earth and people were near it. And also, in the daytime, it sometimes gets close to freezing, maybe a little above freezing, but at night it gets to 100 degrees below 0 Celsius, and there are changes in atmospheric pressure too, so, it made a good movie. Vehicles. I don't know whether the vehicles would have tires like this or whatever, but gasoline won't work because there's no oxygen in the atmosphere. So it has to be battery powered. The astronauts have to go in to there, and anytime you are on a surface, you bring dust in with you, and the air seals get loosened, and sometimes vehicles break down. So 3D printing. And in this, you have a computer-controlled device that just adds a little bit of whatever the working fluid is on different layers, all computer-defined, and you get incredibly complicated shapes. They've got one that works in a vacuum. In theory, you could use this to build structures in space. So you have your 3D printer. It slowly adds layers to it, and you have an arm lifts it up. When it gets to a certain height, another arm keeps going. You can make it as long as you want, as long as you have enough fluid. Then you can join a connector to it with space for other connectors. Then the Ulysses system, and this is a company that's designing it, can make a whole truss structure in space where you don't have different gravitational forces. And they are also saying they can have electrical and data connections all through these things. Whether that would work in Mars gravity, I don't know. They know what moon dust are made out of, so they found similar rocks on Earth, and they've got a system where they can use a 3D printer to make these devices, but maybe that's the size of a coin. And the other problem with 3D printing is this supposedly took something like 8 hours to make. So if that's going to be a brick for a structure astronauts are going to live in, it's going to take a lot of time to make enough bricks to make a home for them. So, my talk is called Trip to Mars, ? We're stuck with the tyranny of the orbital structure that it's a long time to get to Mars, a long wait, and then a long time back. Tiny firecrackers like the Saturn V need to be enlarged. Somehow or other, before the astronauts get there, there's going to have to be construction of a place where they can live. They cannot live on the surface. So my conclusion is, I don't think there's ever going to be a trip to Mars. Now, by trip, I mean, go to Mars, land, pick your rocks, plant your flag, head back home again. But humans have a history of spreading to every corner of the world. Now, this is 20 years data, and some of it's been replaced, but it was a relatively clean map. Some of the trips are over distances by water where they cannot see any sign of something on the other side. So, is there going to be a trip to Mars? Well, I think there's some human instinct that says we should boldly go, and I predict we're not going to take a trip to Mars, but in a number of decades, we're going to make a colony. Thank you.
Questions for Ron? What do you all think
Out
about?
of curiosity, does anybody agree with me?
Right.
That we won't go to visit, but we will go to stay? Well, a one-way trip implies, you're fated to stay there. A colony is sort of a positive thing, and that's why I worded it that way. But I've read people that say it just takes a little bit of political will, and all we need is to put a big enough rocket up, and we can do it in 5 years or so. And I just can't see it. Okay, thank you.